Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Harry Potter and the Totally Normal Hangout. This is episode 7, and we are discussing tonight Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets chapters 6 through 10. It's me tonight. I am Jamie, and we have Emily also, as usual. And tonight, for the first time, we have Cassidy joining us for this. This is the first time she's done the Harry Potter one, but she did her first hangout with us last week when we all talked about Captain Marvel. And if you have not watched or listened to that one yet, you should, because we had a very fun discussion about it. We are doing something a little bit different tonight to start out. Emily does this thing called HQ Trivia. And tonight, the theme is Harry Potter questions. And so we thought, since we're going to be on, and it's perfect timing, we'll just kind of play along with her as she does it.
It's 3 minutes and 31 seconds to the first question, though. So apparently they're not right live
three
anymore.
Minutes. Okay. So in 3
talk.
minutes we will do that. In the meantime, we will introduce ourselves and what we're drinking tonight. Like I said, I am Jamie. I am a Ravenclaw, and tonight I am drinking tea out of my little cauldron mug that I got at Universal Harry Potter World, which I love. Cassidy, why don't you go next? Introduce yourself to everyone who may have not watched our Captain Marvel hangout yet.
All right, I am Cassidy. I think I'm still a disembodied voice.
You are, but that's okay.
I am a Ravenclaw. I'm feeling a little more like Slytherin tonight, though, with these technical issues, and I am drinking a vanilla porter.
Oh,
yes, it's very nice. It's from, I think, Colorado. So thank you, Colorado, for supporting my alcoholism.
What is a vanilla porter?
What?
What is a vanilla porter?
Porter is a type of beer. It's like a darker beer, and then vanilla is vanilla.
Obviously, I didn't know what a porter was.
I don't know. I just had to break down both parts of those.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's like beer and porter and ale and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know what the difference is between any of those, but whatever.
Porter, if you don't drink beer, probably don't start with porter.
Okay.
That's like, yeah, there you go. That's the simple rules of beer.
That seems very Harry Potter appropriate, a porter. I think, yeah.
Awesome. It does. It feels a little festive.
Yeah. All right, Emily, it looks like you are drinking water. Is that correct?
I'm drinking sparkling water tonight. So I've got a little bit of a migraine still residual going on. So I'm having...
Got to stay hydrated.
Hydration. So I'm also a Ravenclaw. So we've got some Ravenclaw braininess happening tonight. So I expect some very cerebral discussion.
Yes, and although Zanib, she was going to be here, but she lost her voice. So she is going to be following along with us in our YouTube comments, which you can also do. Anyone watching, you can chime in with your comments. Or we always track the hashtag on Twitter, TNTalksHP, and you can leave your comments there.
And if you maybe know how to fix Google Hangout for a Mac, so there's video, I don't know, like feel free to comment that as well.
Yes, if we have anyone who's in tech support who is watching tonight, we could absolutely use your tips.
Yeah, if those are like your two deep passions, it's like tech support specifically for Macs and Harry Potter, right place. You're in the right place right now.
Lorena is said to say hi. She is in Portugal right now. And so you can, if you look up the hashtag Niffler Travels on Instagram, you can see she took her Niffler to Portugal with her and is traveling around Portugal with that. So that's kind of funny.
Are we close, Em? Is this thing starting?
Yes. 5, 4.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm gonna you guys maybe start the quick spell question, and I'm gonna answer some questions.
All right, here we go. So our quick spell question this week is so most of Ginny's storyline in Chamber of Secrets is her almost kind of hilariously talking to one of the most evil people in this world through her diary. And it's, dear diary, why doesn't Harry like me? When will he notice me? And so our question this week is, if you had a diary like Ginny's in this book, who would you want to be on the other end of the diary? And this person can be living, dead, it can be a fictional character, whoever. So who would you want it to be? So I will start. I picked a couple of people. I said, first of all, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for obvious reasons, because I would talk to Ruth Bader Ginsburg anytime, any place, in any capacity. So, you're having a rough day, you need some, astute guidance. RBG is the way to go. You're going to get something good there. And I also picked a fictional character. I picked Napoleon Solo from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is one of my favorite movies. If you have not watched it, you should. It's so much fun. Just because I think he would be good for the more, gossipy and shit talk kind of thing. He would just, he has that kind of vibe that he would be fun to talk to about that stuff. So those are mine. Cassidy, who would your people be?
Okay, so I went to some weird places with this.
Awesome.
I started with Satan because I just thought it would, I thought it would be funny. Okay, I was also very, very tired today. And I was thinking of pranks to pull on friends. So that's where I started. And then I was like, maybe too dark, maybe too weird. So then I went to, there's like a lot of like true crime, unsolved murders that I really want the answers to.
Ooh.
And in a slightly horrible way, also like reward money. So it'd be like, I'd be able to help people, but I also have college debt. So if I could do like 2 birds, 1 stone.
There you go.
And then when I was feeling a little more awake and a little less psychotic, I went with Stan Lee. And I feel like it's like pretty obvious reasons. I love comics. I love superheroes. I could like maybe force him to like edit some of my writing. I could pitch to him. And I like the idea that like they almost can't escape. That it's like.
That's true. You have a captive audience with the diary.
Exactly. It's almost just like they're always getting an alert on their phone. And I mean, if like, what else is he going to be doing? So yeah, those are my 3 picks.
I think those are good choices. I mean, even Satan, I can see the value. I do watch Lucifer, which used to be on Fox, but is going to be on Netflix now. And like, he's pretty like saucy. You could have some good banter with him.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of the fun people end up in hell. So I think like at worst, he would just be kind of bitchy.
Right.
And I could get maybe some answers to some questions I have. Like, I don't know if there's like a point system of where you're going to end up, but just be like, hey, yo, what's this looking like?
How can I stack the odds in my favor?
Exactly.
Because like, while this diary chat is fun, I don't necessarily want to have to talk face to face with you in hell.
Yeah, so, but depending too, like I'm like, but would it actually be nice? Also, I do great in like warm climates. So like, is it always hot down there? Right. Like what temperature? Yeah, I just have lots of questions that I feel like I would like answered.
Maybe for you, it would always be hot because if you don't do well in hot weather, then if you went to hell, it would be hot. Versus like people who hate the cold, if they went to hell, maybe it would be cold all the time.
Yeah, probably. It'd probably be like, it'd probably be hot and then humid.
Yes.
And I would be in, I'm trying to think of like the most uncomfortable clothing. Oh my God, I'd have a bra that I could never take off.
Yes.
Yeah.
With like the underwire digging in.
And then like a t-shirt where the sleeves are a little too short. Like I wear like a lot of dudes t-shirts. So yeah. Oh God, I'm feeling like anxious right now.
Yes, for like the armpits are too tight because the things that
And you realize that you put on like the wrong deodorant. You're wearing like a black t-shirt. It's digging into your pit. The deodorant is, I don't know, some like it's secret and it's supposed to be clear, but it's not. So now you, yeah. Yeah, no, that would be my hell.
Yeah.
I'm feeling uncomfortable right now.
These are all the things that you could wax poetic to Satan about in the diary.
Exactly. I'm going back to my first choice now. Yeah. I really think he's the one.
I think we should double down on that. That's Emily. Do we have any YouTube comments about who people would pick?
I've been playing the game, so I haven't been doing this.
And we will jump in on that, and we can get back to this after.
Who destroyed the locket Horcrux? And so that was the last question. Ron, right? Yes. So that's where we're at. We are halfway through.
Oh boy.
There's been some savage questions. Which of these character names appears in the official Hogwarts school motto, Severus, Draco, or Sirius?
Draco.
It's Draco. We know that. Mm-hmm. So we're at question 7, so they're getting harder. But one of them was like, which of these people is an Animagus? And they all said it was Remus, not Rita Skeeter. And it's like, people,
come on.
Are you a real Harry Potter fan or not?
Children, absolute children.
So we're down to, I'm trying to see how many people are.
So people get like knocked out.
You get knocked out if you get it wrong. There's only 200,000 people left in the game. And we started with about 600,000.
Okay. That many people are terrible at this?
Like, which of these subjects did Dumbledore officially teach at Hogwarts? Transfiguration, charms, or potion?
Transfiguration.
Okay. See? Oh, we lost Cassidy.
Oh, no.
Okay. This is why it's good to play with the team.
Yes.
Only 62,000 people got that right.
Seriously?
Yep.
Is there talking on it?
Yeah, the guy is talking. He's the host of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ron is a keen reader of a comic book about which of these figures? Wild Warlock, Mad Muggle, or Grouchy Goblin? Wild Warlock?
Say the Warlock one?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. I have to say, I do not remember anything about that.
Martin Miggs, the Mad Muggle.
Oh, whoops!
I had no idea.
Me neither. Okay, well, see,
I have an extra life. I can get back in the game.
You have lives.
Yes, I have an extra life. I can get back in the game.
Video games. Okay.
Q10. A Muggle burglar alarm. Impediment, jinx, switching spell, or freezing charm.
What?
Freezing charm. You have to go quick.
Yeah.
Slytherin house. He offered up this life hack. If you accidentally set off your past freezing charm.
The freezing charm. That's what I picked. So we're good. You have like 10 seconds to answer from the time he starts reading it, and it shows up on the screen.
Nice to meet you. Why am I doing Batman and Robin? Say Harry Potter. Stuck on the freezing thing, Mr. Freeze. Penultimate question tonight.
Q11.
Okay, here we go.
Which of these is canon? Beetle the Bard fairy tale, Wand of the Wands, Dragon and Quaffle, Fountain of Fair Fortune. I think it's Fountain of Fair Fortune.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that one.
Sorry, listeners and watchers, that we're playing Harry Potter trivia.
It's all right. We're waiting for Cassidy to get back on anyway, and we're expanding our Harry Potter knowledge.
Yes,
For instance, we know what Ron's favorite comic is.
Yes, that is your answer here at Q11.
The last question. Here we go. Watch the last question. There are 27,000 other people in the last question. $5,000 is at stake. Do.
Oh my goodness.
Question 12.
Come on, guy. I can hear him talking. Where is the question?
Which of these topics does Severus Snape teach as a defense against teacher? Nonverbal spells.
In nonverbal spells, knockback, jinx, I'm going to go with nonverbal spells.
All right.
What was the question?
Which of these topics does Snape teach as a defense against the dark arts?
And what were the options?
I can't.
Oh.
Nonverbal skills, inferior defense, or the knockback jinx. We won!
I was going to say, I would say nonverbal spells. Yes, we won. What do you win?
We'll see my share of $5,000.
Oh, they split it between everyone? Okay, so you're going to get like 8 cents.
Right, that's the thing. I have to share it with whoever else got the question right.
Okay.
You're a rocket man. We're a rocket man and then a rocket man.
30 cents. I have
my
30
goodness.
cents tonight, people. 30 cents.
Definitely worth it. We're 30 cents richer.
30 cents richer for Harry Potter trivia.
Yes, but the knowledge we gained is priceless.
Okay, well,
all right, so we will try to Cassidy is trying to make her way back, but in the meantime,
yes.
Emily,
I will answer my question.
Yes.
Because apparently Satan did not like her jokes about that. So
sought revenge for her comments.
Yes. So I worked at Walt Disney Studios, and I got some great stories and walked through the archives there. I actually think it would be really fun to have Walt Disney on the other side of that journal. So that's what I would say. Walt Disney. I also think Amelia Earhart. I just think she would be a really fascinating person because then I can find her.
I was going to say, I mean, that's like one of the big unanswered questions. What
where did you go?
What happened to her?
Yeah.
So I actually I read a terrible article once where they think she landed on some island and that there was at least a chance that she could have been just devoured by the giant crabs that lived there. I forget what island it is. These crabs, they are massive. They're the size of garbage can lids. And that she could have crash landed on this thing and just been all beat up and whatever, and the crabs got her. Can you imagine? That would be terrible. I hope that did not happen.
That's crazy. So in the YouTube comments, so we've got Zanib and Susan. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Zanib would write to Carrie from Sex and the City. So that's a fascinating person to write to.
Yeah, I wish we were here so we could hear why, because I did not watch that show.
And the host, Scott Rogowski, he had his little Harry Potter scar and everything. So he had some good Harry Potter stuff going on. So I don't know what my 30 cents conversion to galleons or sickles or nuts is going to be, but hey, I will keep it in there. So, okay, well,
all right. So I guess we will sort of jump
dive in.
Yes. All right. So chapter 6 is Gilderoy Lockhart. And this is the first lesson that everyone has with him. And it does not go well because Lockhart is a moron. I think anyone who went to school long enough has had a Lockhart type lesson. Is that?
This is the illustration of him.
It is.
And I think he looks just like, everybody else. Snape didn't look like the same one. This looks just like, why did I blank on his name? Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
And I was like, it's just perfect.
It is.
So, you know what? We have to start with the Howler because the chapter starts off with the Howler.
That's right. It does start with the Howler.
How would you have handled the Howler?
Terrible. I was such, and still am, but I was such a shy and quiet kid in school. Like, I barely ever talked, did not say a word. So I would die if I had gotten a howler. I mean, I was such a shy and quiet kid. Honestly, I do not see myself doing anything that would warrant a howler because I was probably much more Hermione-ish in school than anything like Ron or Harry. But just, you know, if we are speaking hypothetically, in the event that you did get one for some reason, I would not have done well.
I mean, I wonder if you could pick it up and like run out of the hallway. Like, do you have to answer it right there? Like, what are the
Right, like, because Neville says something like, if you put it off, it makes it worse. But like, how long put it on? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he saw that he had one. Could he not have just like grabbed it and run?
And what if Errol the owl like had died on the way to Hogwarts?
Right. I would guess eventually it would just combust.
Right.
And just, yell out its message no matter what.
But like, I would have grabbed it and like taken it to the bathroom and like had it howl at me there, or in a closet or something where there was no
right. It's like, if everyone is down in the Great Hall, like, can you make it back to like the dorms or like up somewhere where there is no one?
Right. So, but that was one thing. I was like, wait, we have to talk about the howler. Then okay, now we can go back to Lockhart. Sorry.
Yes. So they're in the classroom. He comes out and is talking about all these, amazing things he has done, which we all know are not true. And even you can probably guess at the time that they are at the very least greatly exaggerated.
Right.
Cassidy is back.
Cassidy, and we can see you.
Guys, it only took me shutting down 5 windows, 12 applications, loading a new browser, and then restarting my Mac. I'm here now, though.
It was Satan sought his revenge.
Yeah, apparently he does not like jokes.
No. Yeah, so maybe bump him off of your list of the people you would talk to. We talked about all the pros, but maybe none of them matter.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole actually being Satan part for the cons list. So
yeah, kind of.
While you were gone, I won 30 cents.
Yes, we made it all the way through Harry Potter trivia, and she won 30 entire cents.
Well, shit. I'm sorry I missed it.
I know. Make sure to diversify that in all your friends. So we were talking about howlers. How would you have reacted if you had gotten a howler in school?
Oh God, it depends on who it's from.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, is this from
your parent?
Oh God, I would die.
Okay.
I would. Yeah. Humiliation.
I mean, that's kind of where we landed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I get, there are some people that I know who genuinely would have been able to like kind of laugh it off and be like, oh man, mom's pissed at me or whatever. But I was not that person. I would have just died.
Yeah. I would have been so embarrassed.
But now that I'm thinking about it, I would totally have sent one to my friend just for the heck of it, just for fun.
Oh, see, I would not have enjoyed that. That's super mean.
Yeah, you're a monster. You're definitely a monster.
Terrible. That's this part Slytherin in me, apparently.
That's true. I was going to say, that seems like a very Slytherin thing to do.
But now that you mention it, it does actually sound kind of funny.
I mean, it sounds hilarious, but,
And, like, you would send inappropriate things. Like, can imagine the things that you could say in them.
True. Honestly, with Fred and George at that school, how have they not been banned? Because you would think that they would have figured out a way to send one and just have it spew like outrageous filth all over the Great Hall.
Right. And all the funny things that they could have it say. Like, I mean, whatever they could enchant it to say, I bet there's like a rule that only adults over 18 could send it or something.
They must have restrictions on it for that reason. I mean, you're talking about a school full of teenagers.
Right.
Can you imagine all of the like slut shaming that would happen? I'm sorry, I'm bringing this to like real world high school.
Yes. People stealing, boyfriends and girlfriends and You know, how could you? Even like someone breaks up with you and you send them like a howler the
Send them
next
a
day,
howler.
just airing all the dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Totally.
What would you guys have gotten, like a scandalous howler?
Yes.
No. That's what I was saying. Because I said I was such like a shy and quiet kid that I never did anything that would have warranted a howler in the first place. But that's Emily. You came in very quickly with that. Yes, Emily.
Yes, I switched schools my junior year, between my junior and senior year, all because of a breakup.
Oh my God.
Yes.
We're going to have to sprinkle in the details of that story elsewhere because that's okay.
Yep, where I was like, nope, I am not going back to the same school as him. It's like, dear mom and dad, we need to switch schools because I made up some other reason. And he said, we are not going back to that school.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So you would have probably gotten multiple howlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I definitely would have gotten some, but not like for anything cool. It would have been like, well, I remember in gym class one day, this kid I had gone to school with since like elementary school came up to me and he was like, Cassie Blumel says you're a lesbian. And I was like, well, you can tell Cassie Blumel I started that rumor. So I think it would have just been a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The high school age kids like that are the worst.
Oh God, really just truly terrible.
Yes. So also, speaking of truly terrible, we then moved on to Gilderoy Lockhart, who is the worst teacher ever. And clearly I said, I guess Hogwarts teachers do not have to like write lesson plans and have them approved or whatever because
any sort of curriculum.
Right, because he just goes into the classroom and is like, here we go. I'm going to unleash this cage of creatures on everyone and just see how it goes.
Well, let's first start with the pop quiz that he issued.
Yes.
And
all
it was
questions
like
about himself.
Yes. And what was his favorite color and what was, and you're like, dude, how is this related to their education?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think he is one of my most hated characters in the entire series. And that is including like actual murderers.
Like Rodolphus Lestrange or
yes. Like he's one of those people like I love him because I hate him so much. You know what I mean? Like that weird, like he is the worst. Like yes.
I feel like if Harry Potter, especially like the earlier films / books, were more teen appropriate or were just really trashy, he would definitely have his own reality TV series. And it would have been I feel like there would have been like a teacher's pet vibe about him. Like he would definitely have been dating some like first or second year, like a creep and dating.
Right.
Air quotes on that.
Yes, he absolutely would get something and some scandalous thing comes out about him later.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. 100%. He is such a tool.
Yes.
In the film, sorry.
No, sorry. Zanib said the pop quiz portion felt like an upside down BuzzFeed quiz. So.
Yeah. No, that's accurate. I like that.
Sorry, Cass. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, isn't he in the movie? Sorry, I'm bringing this to the movie. Isn't he played by Kenneth Branagh too?
He is played by Kenneth Branagh. We talked about this a little bit last week. Originally, he was supposed to be played by Hugh Grant, but Hugh Grant had to drop out because of scheduling. So then it was Kenneth Branagh.
Okay, they couldn't have casted better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we all kind of said that we sort of love Kenneth Branagh as this because he perfectly does this sort of like clueless, pompous buffoon thing just perfectly.
Oh yeah. I just remember Kenneth Branagh from every single goddamn Shakespeare movie ever made and having to watch them in high school. And at one point you're like, is Kenneth Branagh acting or is he just himself? So Yeah, I think
he did those projects like on his free time. Like that's how
oh my
much
God,
he
no.
loved Shakespeare.
Oh man, I remember like what really just like keyed me into who he was as a person was the one where he like wrote it, directed, and then like cast himself as the lead, and I'm like, okay,
in Henry V.
Yes. No, wait, there has to be another one. I think
There's
it was
another one because it starred
Hamlet.
Emma Thompson.
Oh
No,
my God, guys, there might be more than two. There might be more than two.
Is there another one?
I think there is a version of Hamlet.
Probably.
Oh God.
All right, you can look that up.
Yeah.
We will move on. So there's Hermione's sort of like fascination with him. I think, as much as a tool as he is, I think it's kind of adorable that she has this huge crush on him because, to be honest, like, who has not been there? Someone that is like kind of the worst, but like they're good looking and they pay attention to you and say nice things. So like she has this sort of girlish, breathless crush on him. I think it's cute.
It is very endearing, especially, we haven't seen that side of her, and I just love the idea that like this is, as far as we know, like her first crush is this like complete pompous tool. Right. But he seems, in the beginning, he seems very accomplished too. So it's just like this like beautiful, kind of cocky in a cool way, I guess. And then, he's done all this stuff, so it's almost like he's earned the right to be like a little into himself. And yeah, I just love I also love the boys' reaction to her and being like, what is happening?
Right. Well, and it's like, because she did not know who he was her whole life because she's brand new to this world. So like, and obviously she, values school and education. So this guy is like, she sees him for the first time and he's super good looking. And he's done, at least at this point, everyone thinks he has done all of these amazing things that take such a tremendous amount of like knowledge and skill. And so yeah, and she knows all these things, and he like singles her out specifically for doing so well on the pop quiz about him. I'm like, oh, it's kind of sweet. He's a tool, but
So I found something that said Hermione is in a situation where her reliance and trust of books has never failed her, and it, in this case, is if she can read about it in a book, it must be true, and therefore she will trust in her books because they have never led her wrong. Mm-hmm. And Zanib wrote, she's 12, a tween with a crush on her teacher. We've all been there once or twice if you're Zanib. So,
right.
And back to our little Shakespeare thing. I looked it up. What Shakespeare did you say, Cassidy?
I thought it was some version of Hamlet.
Okay, so you said Hamlet. Jamie, what did you say?
I said Henry V.
So you said Henry V, and I said Much Ado About Nothing. All three of them, written, directed, and starred. We were all right.
Hey.
God, wow. I didn't want to be right about that. I really didn't want all three of us to be right about that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, Much Ado About Nothing. That's what he did. And I didn't realize the other one.
Said that, and we all had a different thing pop into our head at a different time. We're killing it with the trivia tonight, just all around.
God, yeah. I feel like if he were watching this, he would just be like, oh my God, they're such big fans. They know all of my greatest films.
I know, we each thought of one, and it turns out, oh no, he did a whole lot.
Oh, man.
Oh, now, is he Kenneth Branagh or is he Gilderoy Lockhart?
Right. That's, who knows? He could have, done a memory charm on everyone, so we don't know the difference. Emily, you have something in here about, and I also had this thought. Once they are done with that class, they're in Transfiguration, and they turn beetles into buttons. And that why does it have to be a beetle? Like, to turn a living thing into something inanimate? Like, they do this a couple of times, and it seems weird to me.
Not just a couple of times. So I'm gonna branch out beyond this. And there is the Harry Potter game that you can play that is the Hogwarts mystery game. And you have to go to Transfiguration and you have to turn owls into opera glasses. You have to turn cats into cauldrons. You have to turn porcupines into pincushions. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Why are we turning all of these animals into
That seems mean.
things? What did you say?
I said that seems mean. Like,
It does.
like, for instance, you could use anything. You could like literally anything, and they're taking anima. I don't know. That seems dicey to me. I don't like it.
I'm like, I don't understand transfiguration. So, yeah, a pillow to an armadillo, a top hat into a rabbit, a piggy bank into a guinea pig, a feather duster into a ferret. I'm like, why are we doing this? So,
And
that's
also, you would
in
think
year 5.
you think it would be harder to. I mean, I guess that's why they do it, so you can learn. If you have to turn something that's like, an animal into something inanimate, but
But
I don't.
what is the point of this magic?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I can see why you would want to change something into something else. Like, that seems like a useful skill to have.
Mm-hmm.
But why they're practicing on animals seems like the weird part to me.
Right. So, and according to the Harry Potter game, you don't turn beetles into buttons until year 4.
Oh, okay. Well, McGonagall's having them do it right now.
I know.
Clearly, this is an advanced class.
So, mandrakes. Can we talk about mandrakes?
Was that in this chapter?
Yes. What is you wrote? What is the consciousness of a plant, mandrake plant? Because
that was first. Yeah, same thing. They're doing all this stuff with mandrake. Like, are they alive? Because like they cry.
Yes.
But we know that like they like chop them up and like stew them later to cure the people who were petrified. Like, I don't know.
Okay. So, Cassidy, we're going into history of magic. So pull out your wand and robe.
Okay.
Are you ready? So here is our journey through the history of magic. Everybody pull out your textbooks. Here is the illustration of Professor Sprout with her mandrakes.
Lovely.
And what I have discovered is in the study of mandrakes, this is an actual what a mandrake actually looks like. So I'm going to try to get it without.
Yes, because these were like based on real, like
a mandrake is
but
a
like
real thing.
Real things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the root looks like an actual person.
Yeah.
And so that's why they thought that it was this. So mandrakes really do exist. Their roots resemble the human form, which has influenced many cultures to attribute special powers to the plant. According to medieval herbals, mandrakes, or mandragora, had a great medicinal potential. People believed they could cure headaches, earaches, and insanity, among other ailments. However, it was said that the roots shrieked when dug up, and anyone who heard that noise went mad. People believed that the best way to harvest the plant safely was to unearth its roots with an ivory stake, attach one end of the cord to the plant and the other to a dog. The dog was then encouraged to move forward by sounding a horn, which would drown out the shrieking, or by enticing it with meat. Once the dog moved, it would then drag the mandrake with it. In reality, mandrakes don't actually cry, but they still are dangerous. Their leaves are poisonous and can cause hallucinations.
That is such a medical thing. It's like it will cure insanity, but if you dig it up, it will cause insanity. It's like here's what it will cure. Side effects, the exact same thing that it says it's going to cure.
Right.
So it's nice to know that that's a long-standing tradition.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like if all of these things were true, I definitely would have died by now because the amount of steps to go through, I would have been like, nah, let's just wing it.
Yeah.
And so then this was the illustration of mandrakes for the illustrated version at their various stages.
They, when me and Lorena went to the exhibition thing in like last month, a couple of months ago, whatever, they had a bunch of illustrations in the kind of herbology section of, kind of like drawings like that, of what they look like, and, all kind of like wrinkled up and stuff like that. And they had some of the like, real life images of what people think these things look like at the time and everything. It was super interesting.
So were the earmuffs, because everybody had their little earmuffs, and I mean we have noise canceling headphones and everything nowadays. Were they I mean, this was what, 1995? 92, sorry.
Yeah.
So even we didn't have that particular technology. So were these enchanted earmuffs?
I would think they'd have to be, because it says something like, Harry put them on and absolutely all sound was blocked out. And I was like, it's earmuffs. Like, earmuffs do not cut out that much noise. So I think they had to be sort of like magical, enchanted earmuffs.
Okay. Because Neville, sound gets through Neville. So that's what I...
What if Britain has just been holding out on us this whole time, and they have
that's
some,
what I was going to say. Like, have I just been cheaping out on
earmuffs?
earmuffs? Like, if you buy a super intense pair, can they absolutely cut out all sound?
I mean,
yeah.
I don't...
If anyone is watching and they're British, please tell us your secrets.
Yes.
It's time.
Why are
it's
your
been like
earmuffs
2 decades.
so much better than ours?
Yeah.
And why have you been hugging them? We need to know.
Yeah.
Comment below. Let us judge.
Yes.
What earmuffs do you have? So.
All right. Should we move on to chapter 7?
I think we've gotten enough out of Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes. All right. So chapter 7 is Mudbloods and Murmurs. And in this chapter we have some stuff with Colin Creevey.
Is this where we first meet him?
I think we maybe got a glimpse of him before, but this is where he kind of like introduces himself to Harry, I think.
Okay.
But I kind of feel bad for Colin a little bit. Like, I know that like the hero worship thing is a super weird thing, and it would definitely make me uncomfortable if I were Harry also, and someone should probably kind of like tell Colin that like it's really sweet that he's excited, but he needs to cool it a little bit. But like, he was Muggle born, like this is new and exciting for him, and he's so excited. Like, I don't know. I think at this and various points Harry could maybe be a little nicer to him, but I don't know. That's just me.
You're muted, Cass.
God damn. Okay, sorry.
There you go.
Unmuted. Whoops. Being Colin is like my worst fear. Like just that level of vulnerability, but also I'm trying to think of the word. Pathetic? I feel like it's nicer than that, but it is like just that level. I have definitely been that at times, and now like try and just wash those memories from my brain. So I do feel bad for him, but I also feel frustrated with him, and I think it's just because I can relate. I can see it being hard for Harry because, I mean, he is really young himself, and he's just spent so much time. I mean, people, as soon as he found out like he was a wizard and was walking through the wizard world, people have been like gasping and trying to touch his head. And
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it would have been nice if you could pick up on those context clues, be a little nicer, and maybe somebody be like, Colin, you're being real weird. Like, you need to, like, you're at like a 9 and you need to take it down to like at least a 6.
Totally. I mean, but I think Harry would totally understand, not even knowing what magic was before he got the letter. He would totally relate to that. The same with Hermione. Like, they are all in the same boat. They didn't know what Hogwarts was until they got their letter. So
right, there's like that sense of wonder and everything. And at least Colin, like Cassidy said, he has like these adults like fawning over him, and they should at least know better. Like Colin's a kid.
Yeah. What I did like is as he's taking the camera around. He's like, and if I develop it with a special potion, it'll make the pictures move. Like, we find out how the pictures are moving pictures.
Yeah, I love getting little details like that. Like, it's it's something in the developing process that makes them move.
Right. We do hear the first utterance of the insult.
Of mudblood. And shocker, it's Malfoy who says it because he's a little dick. He is on the Slytherin Quidditch team now. He bought his way on. Well, his father, essentially bought him a spot because he got everyone new brooms, Nimbus 2001s. This is like the 1992 version of like the college admissions, like buying your spoiled kid a spot on a prestigious team. So he calls Hermione a mudblood, and Fred and George, go after him, but there are not really any real repercussions for him for saying this. And we find out that it's like this awful slur, and yet somehow he says this and nothing really happens to him. And I would think that, like Oliver Wood was there, he's a team captain, surely he at least could have passed it on, to McGonagall. And even if it got all the way up to like Dumbledore, I don't really see him being swayed by any like threats that Lucius Malfoy might make if he were to try to punish Draco for saying something like that. So I don't really know why anything doesn't happen.
That allows teachers to bully their students.
That's true.
What are we talking about?
That's true. I'm setting it by like logical standards when clearly that they do not apply at Hogwarts whatsoever.
I mean, when we were talking in book 1, and it was when we brought up all the things, could Snape be fired under California law?
Yes, that's true. I forgot about that conversation.
I mean, I'm actually trying to get an attorney to help me write a proposal for like a convention next year, and it's like, let's see what pop culture things can we do. And now I'm like, let's talk about all the Harry Potter teachers, and could they actually still be teaching?
Yes. All the legal violations that happen at Hogwarts.
And put an education spin on it, because I'm like, there are too many things. And as we're going back and through this, now that I know more, I love it. And I'm like, Lockhart would not have lasted. His credentials would not have passed muster.
No.
So, bullying, not in the early 90s.
That's true.
That was in.
That's
true.
I
mean, even now, I also think like sometimes, and I can totally see Ron and Harry being those kind of kids. Like, I'm thinking of my friends, of like certain kinds of things that make people uncomfortable, which can be like homophobia or racism, especially around, I think, like teenagers. It can be the, like, it's wrong and you don't support it, but it kind of makes you uncomfortable to even address that it's there. That I can see that being a thing where like kids aren't going to, go to a teacher or like go to the headmaster, because I feel like, McGonagall and Dumbledore would definitely not be okay with it and would not be afraid of the Malfoys. But I just kind of see it as like the same kind of bullshit that we've always dealt with in schools, of like a homophobic slur or a racist slur, is that for the most part, like it's either like you have to deal with it, or you have to hope that like there are friends or somebody around you that will say something.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think, like, I mean, I guess it depends on what school you're in, but it tends to be that like the kids who actually do and say those terrible things actually tends to be a smaller group. And while everyone else does not agree with those things and don't do those things themselves, they also don't really know what to do about it or how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's almost like a discomfort of just acknowledging that those problems exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is something about Harry and Ron, is that, like, I feel like if they were real people now, there would be a lot, like Hermione is sitting both of them down and talking to them about Me Too. And they're just like, obviously I don't think women should be scared in the workplace, but like, are women scared? I've worked with women and they haven't seemed scared.
Right.
Like, it would just be like conversation upon conversation like that with them.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the only thing that anyone really does do is Ron tries to curse Malfoy, but because his wand is broken, it backfires on him and he spends the rest of the chapter barfing up slugs, which is disgusting. I mean, like, I hate bugs and everything, but like, especially in England, like, slugs are big.
Yeah.
Like, the only slugs I've ever seen around have been like little weeny ones and like, dirt and stuff like that, but they can get big ones over there and they're oh my God, they're just slimy and oh my God. Yeah, that always, like, reading this chapter, I do get kind of like that queasy feeling a little bit because it's so gross.
Yeah, I would prefer so many other curses.
Right.
Like the I always first say it wrong, but cruciosity. Like, I would rather be tortured with one, like, than like have slug. Yeah. I'd be like, no,
bugs.
Yeah. So yes, I think that I forgot. Sorry, I haven't read these books in a while, and I did not do my homework on par with how I was in school. I did not do my homework for this podcast. So I do like that there was that instinct to protect their friend. It wasn't a like, hey, we're going to discuss this and tell you why you're a piece of shit. It was like, hey, it's like the equivalent of I'm going to try and like punch you in the face, except I can't hit really well. So I like punch the locker.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I even now, like, still watching that, I have the same thing too, Jamie, where I like start feeling like a little like, bleh.
I know. I'm usually not squeamish, but with bugs and stuff like that, no, thank you. That's
same. I'm like, I can watch surgery bugs though.
Yes, right. That's the kind of thing about like medical stuff and stuff. I am really not squeamish at all. Like, that kind of stuff does not bother me, but put a bug in somewhere and I'm losing my shit. That's all right. Should we move on to the next chapter?
Yeah, the Death Day Party.
The Death Day Party. So this is something that never made it into the movie. And
most of this chapter didn't make it into the movie.
And reading it, we kind of understand why, because not a lot really happens in it. I mean, there are a few little plot points, and we find out a couple of things that we will need to know later. But other than that, like, those things are just kind of sprinkled in to the bulk of this chapter, which is, it is the anniversary of nearly headless Nick's almost beheading. He has been denied entry into the headless hunt because he still has a little bit of connection left. And so he throws this party. All the ghosts come. There's a giant table of rotten food that they kind of like pass through, hoping to get some sort of like, I mean, it can't even really be taste, but some sort of sense of something. And Harry and Ron get guilted into going and regret it immediately and get out of there as soon as they can.
There is, in the Department of Regulation for the Control of Magical Creatures, there is the Beast Division and the Being Division. The third division, I'm not sure if you're aware, is the Spirit Division.
Okay.
So that's what regulates.
Okay, so ghosts are not even, they are not beings, they're spirits.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like they're going to have a march about that in like
well, and also like,
2020 or
how do
something.
you regulate a ghost?
Well,
Like,
that's what I was going to
what
say.
are you
Yeah.
gonna do? There's nothing you can really do. Like, you can't get your hands on them. You can't like.
From the textbook, and I want to bring that up later in the next chapter when we talk about when you can't get your hands on them. So
Okay.
here's the illustration from History of Magic. This is what Sir Nicholas looks
Oh
like.
my God! Look at him. What a dandy.
So with his ruff.
With his ruff.
And he cannot join the nearly headless hunt. But I think when we talk about the regulation, you have Peeves the Poltergeist. So you've got poltergeists, you've got ghouls, you've got ghosts, you've got all of these things that have to be regulated.
Of course, there's always regulations.
So.
Outside of the Death Day party, there was
Harry tracks in mud and gets
Harry tracks
taken to
in
the
mud,
office.
yes, and Filch is pissed. And to try and get him out of trouble, Peeves and Nick cause a distraction, and Nick says that he knocks over a vanishing cabinet. And this is kind of like the first glimpse we get at a vanishing cabinet, which obviously comes into play in a huge way later. And I just thought, like, was this thing just like sitting out in the hall somewhere?
And then it got moved into the room of requirement.
Right. Like, is this the vanishing cabinet, or is it just a vanishing cabinet?
Or is it the vanishing cabinet and this is how it got broken?
Right. That's what I meant. Like, is this the one that shows up again in book 6?
Right. But it was broken and Draco had to mend it. And so is the knocking over what broke it?
Right.
So.
I would assume so. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how common are vanishing cabinets? Like, is this just another one that happens to be hanging out? Is it like, I don't know. I would venture to say, because these things are usually connected, that this is the vanishing cabinet. It was somewhere, it gets knocked over, it gets broken, it gets moved, and then that is how Draco finds it later.
Yeah. And I wouldn't put it past Hogwarts to just have this shit like laying about. I mean, there's we have like 3-headed dogs on floors. We have a giant snake in pretty much the basement, like a vanishing cabinet hanging loose. Why not? Why not?
No
Seems
biggie.
very up to par.
Yeah. And so in Filch's office, yes. Emily, you have a note about that. You can get into what we find out about Filch.
Yes, so we first find out that he's not a wizard, and Harry discovers what a squib is. And the letter that he gets, here's what you can do and how to hold your wand properly and things like that. I thought the letter was funny, and I'd forgotten that part. And I had wished that they had included that in the film, because I thought that little part would have played a little bit into Filch's character. And
that is a deleted scene.
That he gets his letter.
That they I don't remember where exactly it comes in, but Harry does at some point find a letter that says quick spell on it. I don't think they get into as much detail about what it is, and that like Filch just kind of like grabs it and looks away. So I think they probably cut it, because since they didn't get into a huge explanation of what it was, it would have been weird to have it. But to really have that, you get a better sense of why Filch is the way he is.
Right. The other thing is Harry could see file cabinets of all the students that Filch had ever punished. And Fred and George each had entire drawers to themselves. And it doesn't say how long Filch had been at Hogwarts. But if he had been there long enough, or to have like the Marauders, did James and Remus and did they have their own drawers, because they had gotten into a lot of trouble?
Yes, I would imagine so. They were always stirring up some kind of shit.
So I just love that Fred and George had their own drawers.
Yes, because that is how much they have gotten up to in their time there. And other than that, not really a whole lot happens in this chapter. It's mostly kind of like little anecdotes that are going to come into play later. So chapter 9 is the writing on the wall. And we get a lot of prime Professor Binns content in this chapter. They are in History of Magic. He is the ghost professor. And just a random sort of like thing I have because this class sounds so boring. But Professor Binns assigns them a 3-foot-long parchment composition. And they have like a week to work on this thing, and Ron like barely gets it done. But I'm thinking like a standard sheet of paper in like, you know, the Muggle world is like 8.5 by 11. So I mean, 11 is almost a foot. So I don't know how wide the parchment is, but presumably like a 3-foot parchment composition, it's like 3 pages. Like, Ron, you have a week to do this and you can't write like a little 3-page paper for your History of Magic class. Like, come on. I know he's not the best student, but let's do it. 3 pages is really not all that bad.
And it doesn't say how big your handwriting has to be.
Right.
And like Hermione's was tiny, and you know, it doesn't say anything like that.
Right. You can leave a lot of spaces in between your lines, and yeah, make your because like my writing is actually pretty like loopy and big. So come on, Ron. But I also forgot that Professor Binns in the books is the one that tells them about the Chamber of Secrets, because in the movie, which is what I've seen more often than I've read the book, it's McGonagall. And Binns does it in the book, and it's like the only time anyone cares about what he has to say in his class.
He reminds me so much of this, notorious seems almost generous, but just this very well-known history teacher from my high school who would, I think he was just kind of perma-fried, but he would play his banjo most of the time, or he would like put on movies. But like sometimes he'd be like, "Hey kids, do you want to hear a new song I'm working on?" And everyone would be like, "No." And then he would just like, his last name was Clark, but we called him El Clarko. And yeah, whenever I reread these books and they talk about Binns, it's like Clark. All of us, I've talked to like friends, and everyone has had the same, like as soon as they meet him, they're like, "Oh my God, Clark, it's Clark."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's funny. So I want to talk about Binns, but before we do that, we've got Zanib was like, I almost expected Casper the Friendly Ghost to pop up, and she also agreed that it was, I think last chapter was, this was about last chapter, sorry Zanib, that it was a filler chapter in her perspective, but she did like that we got to see the ghosts milling about.
Yes.
So sorry about that.
Like that kind of stuff is fun, but it's just.
So you were talking about assigning these parchments. He's a ghost.
Yes.
How is he going to go pick up those parchments?
I know.
Raid these parchments.
I thought the same thing.
He can't pick them up.
Right.
So.
Right. He can't like unfurl them or anything. Yeah. Like. Yeah. I was very confused as to what the ghosts can and can't do, and where they can and can't go, and how.
But nobody pays any attention. He's talking about the Werewolf Rebellion of 1292, and you know, nobody cares. And it wasn't until Hermione, you know, tries to get something about actually what's going on. And I'm not gonna lie, the History of Magic is probably a really important class for these young witches and wizards to be taking.
Yeah.
And Binns is the worst teacher. He would be a great teacher if they gave him some guidelines and again adhered to a curriculum and something along those lines. Said, look, you have to do these things and quit going about your routine. We get that you just got up from the teacher's lounge and left your body and carried on teaching. You have to keep doing these things. You know, I have my History of Magic. I will teach that. That was, you know, I think one of our first questions.
Yes.
And that was my biggest pet peeve. But I was like, I would go kick Binns out and take over teaching History of Magic.
Right. Because especially for like the Muggle-borns, History of Magic is like an important class. Like they don't, they just got into this world. They don't really know a lot. Like having the history is useful.
Also, does Binns get paid?
Right.
I had this whole thing, like, they don't care about the ghost. Like, he's seen everything, and he has such a font of information that they could tap if they just did that. And, once he's telling this story, he had the attention of everyone in there. And, anyway.
Honestly, they could just get some, I was going to say cardboard cutouts, but they're, magic. But they could just like say, hey, your class has moved, and then magic in some pretend students, and he wouldn't notice. He's a ghost too. What's he going to do? Sue? He's already dead. It's fine. You don't have to pay him.
Right.
Right. Just get some dummies in there for him to just drone onto.
Yeah. And frankly, I want to write a letter to my high school right now about how they probably could have done that for Clark as well.
Yes. Just yeah.
I have a like fan fiction idea rolling around how Hermione goes back to do something and ends up, like, since Binns doesn't need his teacher's living quarters, that they let her stay in his living quarters because he doesn't need them. He's a ghost. And she walks through the classroom while they're doing a class or something. Like, I have this idea, then I was like, and she's like, actually, Professor Binns, things have changed. And everyone's like, wait, somebody who knows something, and she ends up taking over teaching.
She just like ends up falling into the job of history of magic by just walking by and providing anecdotes, and everyone realizes that, like, oh, this could be interesting.
Yes. So I'm changing. I'm gonna do a alternate universe post-war canon. So
I love it. I do though like the idea that even in effectively like high school, in this magical world, that history is still like really goddamn boring.
See, if you had the right teacher, it would be fantastic.
Right. I always loved history.
Oh, nerds. I feel like you guys are like pushing me more and more into Slytherin.
That's history was like history and social studies and stuff were like my favorite classes.
Same.
Like I took, and even like in college, all of the electives, I always went more for like the humanities and stuff like that.
I just really want to bully you guys right now. I'm so sorry.
I love that stuff. Like all that, like the sort of like science and math and stuff was not for me. I liked all of that other stuff so much more.
True. I wasn't like huge on, like, I hated physics because like my history class, Mr. Lowe, I'm doing a call out, not like he would watch this. He's like the only teacher I never liked, but he too would sometimes be like, hey guys, do you want to hear me play my guitar? What were with my teachers and like playing?
I was going to say, what are these teachers?
You grew up in Wyoming. I grew up in Colorado. We had the same thing. So.
Okay, they need to stop. You and I need to like start a march. Former students against goddamn teachers playing musical instruments in class. We'll come up with a catchier name.
I never had this. It's kind of fascinating, but I hated physics as well. That was absolutely the worst class I have ever had to suffer through my entire life because physics is weird, and I feel like you need a teacher who can like properly convey all of those things, and mine did not.
Yeah, I feel like physics and chemistry, when I got out of school, I loved, and I started listening to podcasts. But in school, just the worst teachers. Also, I didn't know that I was dyslexic, so that could have helped.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, lots of fucking letters there, just all over the place.
So Zanib has a theory that Binns is bound to the class for the rest of eternity. Like maybe there's a curse that prevents him from leaving the classroom.
God, I feel bad for the classroom.
I know, like we're saying, history of magic could be so interesting if they had someone
I would do something. I would cast an enchantment on the classroom that made it smaller or something, and still move history of magic. Let's see. There is Snape brews a potion, even though Lockhart offers to brew the potion. Snape is like, after all, I am the potions master. In this chapter, and
which it's a very weird thing. Like Snape and Lockhart are equally terrible, like for different reasons. But it's like, who do we even root for in that face-off? Like you hate them both.
And when you go in, you take them into Lockhart's office, and you see all of Lockhart's photographs, and they all have rollers in their hair. They're all so vain that their hair is all put up in rollers, and you're like,
and they
oh
like
my
run
gosh.
out of
Yes.
out of frame so people don't see them. I know, I loved that little detail. That's
I forgot about that.
that's so fun.
It was fantastic. I was like, oh, that little tidbit is so visually perfect.
Right, is so fun.
Yeah.
And that's really the end of that chapter. That's another one where I feel like it plants the seeds for things that are going to pay off later. But other than that, there's not really a ton that goes on.
Yeah.
Although the writing on the wall is that Mrs. Norris gets petrified, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about that. Poor Mrs. Norris.
Yeah.
And I did feel bad for Filch here because he is a jerk, but like he loves Mrs. Norris. Like that's his cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get over, as long as somebody doesn't dislike animals, I can like feel something for them again.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to pitch Lorena's fan fiction that she's writing called The Slytherin Heart, which takes place in 1792. Her caretaker at Hogwarts at that point is Mr. Norris, which I think is funny, and it's sort of a nod to Mrs. Norris, and so
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, like there's some things that are in there that you're like, oh, I recognize that name, and you're like, oh, and I was like, oh, this makes me think of that. So
all right, so chapter 10 is our last chapter for tonight, and it is the Rogue Bludger. And we start out, or at least early on in the chapter, Lockhart has now moved on from letting creatures loose in his classroom to calling Harry up to the front of the room and having him act out all of Lockhart's adventures with him, which is just miserable.
Horrifying.
That is the sort of banjo playing equivalent in the magical world. Like, it's just, we're going to just talk about all the stuff I've done. I'm going to act it out, and there's audience participation. Like, what a miserable, miserable class.
I know I'm going to just quickly flash back because we didn't touch on this. In the 6th chapter, there was something where Lockhart pulls Harry aside and he's like, I know, I gave you a taste of fame. And that's why, and I forgot that part. And this just reminded me of it because I think this whole book, we're going to be going, Lockhart is the worst.
Yes.
That's all we're going to be doing and all we're going to be saying, because every chapter he's in, we're just going to be saying, OMG, he's the worst.
Yeah, he does not really redeem himself. This is not one of those things where you think he's terrible, but by the end you come around and he's really not that bad. No, he sucks all the way.
Which I do love. I love that they're he just keeps getting worse, because I feel like too often, especially with dudes in fiction, there's this we're gonna redeem him, which continues this bullshit myth of if a guy's terrible, he can be saved or changed, or the reasons he's terrible, they're good enough to excuse his shittiness. So I love how, at the end you're oh no, he just really was more of a pile of shit than we all thought. Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know.
Right. He was every bit as bad as we all thought he was. Yes, there's something comforting in that.
It really is. I am wondering because we've talked about the whole, we've all had those crushes where the person is really just shitty.
Yes.
What has been your guys's worst crush? Of you now as a grown-ass woman, you're that was dumb.
Yes, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to think.
Worst crush.
Yes. I'm trying to think when maybe I was Hermione's age-ish, that little girl kind of crush. Who was it at the time? Do you have one? You can start us off.
I feel like I could just bring up a list. I'm let's see, let's pick a year. No, I remember most vividly, I remember when I was 15 or 16, having a crush on this. She was like very, very pretty, but very awful. She was 19, so she seemed incredibly mature to me at 15. And we would talk. She knew I liked her. And she would tell me about the girls she was dating, like graphically.
Right.
And I'd be like, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's great. That's, yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Like, just to like, she'd just do it to like get a reaction out of me. And I remember, because she was, oh God, it was something really pretentious, like a 19th century British literature, whatever major. I was trying to impress her one day. So we had just read in my AP English class, we had read some poem, and I couldn't remember the name of who wrote it. And I accidentally, like, I was trying to be all cool and talk to her about it. And I threw out like the guy's name, and she was like, yeah, no, he wrote books. I think you're thinking of somebody else. And I told my teacher, my best friend, and they both made fun of me. my teacher, he and I had like known each other for a while, and he was like, you're a dork.
Oh, that's sad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And then I'll finish this rambling trauma. To make it worse, I then panicking, I was like, oh my God, I need her to know I'm smart. I offered to send her my pre-SAT score.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm really cool, and I've always been liked back. So I really can't relate to Hermione at all.
No. Oh my goodness.
I mean, as you were saying that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Not makes sense about you, but I was like, oh no, there was this one guy. I was like, oh, I think I might like him. This seems like this could work. And somebody said, oh, well, this is his favorite book. It's like, I got it. I'm gonna get this book, and then I'm going to position myself so he could see me reading this book. Wait till you hear what the book is.
That was my question. I'm like, oh my God, what was it?
Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, that is a surprising choice.
Yeah. So ask me now. Is he married? No. Has he come out of the closet officially? No. Because, yeah, leave it to me to have a crush on a gay man. So I was like, why didn't I see this when I was younger? I didn't. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Actually, now that you say that, I was having a hard time thinking of one, and I don't have like as involved a story as that. But now that you're saying that, I do think I had like a little crush on like a guy, and then found out, just like someone was talking about him who was like friends with him, and found out that he was gay. And I was like, sure, like that would happen. Like, well, that's how that story ends.
My friend from Norway had that happen a lot, because she was like, she was so used to men in Europe dressing nice and like caring about their appearance that she came to Montana, poor woman, and every guy she liked, she'd be like, oh my God, he's so manly and sexy. And we'd be like, yeah, Mary, but also super gay. And she's like, what? No, you guys are playing into stereotypes. And we're like, no, Mary, this is Montana. He's gay. And it was like consistent for like 3 years. Like every guy, she'd be like, I'm just like, I'm going to hit on him. I'm going to go for it. And we'd be like, Mary, don't
waste your time there.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. We just started playing like gay or European, and they were always gay.
Yeah.
Gay or European. I love it.
It's a good game. I highly recommend it.
So we do have that in this last chapter. Speaking of, Hermione goes up to Gilderoy Lockhart to get him to sign something for her so she can get a book out of the restricted section. And like, she wants to keep it. She doesn't want to give it up to Madam Pince. She wants to, because, he signed it, and, she talked to him to get it. And it's that you know, that's it. You're like, oh, poor
Okay,
thing.
I'm gonna ask this. I know I'm jumping ahead to like book 4, but is it some enchantment or Vila-esque thing, like reverse Vila or something? Like, because why are all of these women acting this way?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe. I mean, like, I don't think J.K. Rowling has said so, if that's the case. But I think it's just, you know, good-looking men can sort of get away with just sort of flashing a smile and being charming, and, you know, and people kind of tend to fawn over that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's any particular power that he has, or if it's just kind of he's using all of these societal things, and that's why everyone loves him.
Yeah, I like the idea that it's that as opposed to some form of magic, because it is really interesting to see guys who can get away with that, or guys like, because that, I mean, that bullshit doesn't really work on me. There's nothing there for me, honestly. So it is kind of funny to watch those things happen, and then to see like straight women, and then like intelligent straight women. I mean, Hermione is brilliant,
Right.
but to see them fall for it and you're like, what is happening? So yeah, I think it's just that he's attractive and everyone thinks he's incredibly successful and brave too.
Right. He's like this dashing.
I would love the idea that there's no magic at play. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because I don't find Kenneth Branagh attractive, or that picture of him, like, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to know, because I think like Kenneth Branagh is like an objectively, like, you know, good-looking person. Like, whether he's people's like specific type or not. Like, I don't know if people see him and they're like, ew, gross. Like, and who knows what J.K. Rowling, you know, was picturing in her head when she wrote him. But I think just kind of like insert any sort of, you know, good-looking man you can think of. They seem to be able to get away with a lot, and, you know, people, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's more of like, if you look at guys, like men who are average looking and are celebrities, I feel like they would get a similar response, that all of a sudden you just kind of buy into that they're a lot hotter than they are.
Right. It's like there are some people, like if Gilderoy Lockhart was just like a normal wizard, just like walking around, whatever, would people fawn over him quite so much? Maybe not. I think it's just like the combination of, you know, he knows that he can use his looks, and so he combines that with, you know, all these tales of heroism that he makes up, and he knows they're going to go a lot further because he is, you know, attractive, and because like people send him fan mail.
Yeah. So Zanib says maybe Lockhart has Felix Felicis, but also there are some historic examples of awful men with alluring personalities. So I can see why women and some men would fawn over Lockhart.
Yeah.
Historical. I mean, we have present examples.
We have present examples. That is very accurate.
It's men get away with a lot. Men in general can tend to get away with a lot, but, you know, let alone attractive men.
Yeah. I liked your comment, Jamie, about Madame Pomfrey and what she has to do.
Yes. So in the Quidditch game that they play, and I am usually not really a fan of Quidditch scenes, but the bludger starts to like target Harry personally. It's supposed to just kind of whip around and get whoever you know, it can reach, but it keeps going after Harry, and Fred and George kind of like you know, flank him, and eventually everyone takes Quidditch real seriously, because they're like, severe physical harm is worth winning a game. Whatever. I I'm not really a sports person. I don't understand that, but whatever. The Quidditch team thinks it makes sense. So that is what they do. And it breaks his arm. He manages to get the snitch anyway. And Lockhart, here he comes in his, charming buffoonery, decides he is going to fix Harry's arm and ends up taking all the bones out instead. And Harry says his arm just feels like kind of this mushy rubber glove. And so they take him to Madame Pomfrey, and she gives him Scaligro, and she says she can regrow his arms. It's going to be painful, but she can do it. And he has to stay there overnight. So he takes the stuff, and while he has visitors, Madame Pomfrey kind of shoos them away and says that Harry has 33 bones to regrow. He can't have this crowd, off with you. But I Googled it real quick, and it turns out that there are 64 bones in the human arm and wrist and hand. So what gives, Madame Pomfrey? Like, why only 33? I don't know. Like, do kids don't have less bones? So
No.
like, their bones are softer. They still have more cartilage in them, but they still have just as many. So where did 33 come from?
So did his fingers also lose? Did he lose all the ones in his fingers?
I don't know. Because, like, I assume so, just because what he says when he kind of looks down at his arm, but maybe not. Maybe
So
it's
maybe
just
he
the
just
arm.
lost these two and some of these.
Or Madame Pomfrey has a drinking problem.
Come on, Cassidy. Because it's 3 in each finger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your metacarpals and your carpals, and then your metacarpals and your radius and ulna.
All right, let's see. There are 64 bones in the upper extremity. They consist of 10 shoulder and arm, 16 wrist, and 38 hand bones.
Okay, so there's 16 here.
So even if you do the 10 of the shoulder and arm and the 16 of the wrist, that's 26.
But the shoulder and arm, so that's taking in like your scapula and clavicle and all of those things. So
well, there are 38 hand bones. So even just in your hand, 38 bone. Like I don't know.
Madame Pomfrey doesn't know her anatomy.
I want to know what number J.K. Rowling looked up to put that in there. Like what bones is she referring to here?
There we go.
I don't know. I thought that was an interesting question.
Zanib says Madame Pomfrey's been sneaking in some fire whiskey between.
See,
Thank you. Zanib's on my team.
Yeah. That's like a dark subplot to Harry Potter. Is that like Madame Pomfrey has this terrible problem that she deals with?
Where's the Madame Pomfrey fan fiction? I want some like real dark author warning, like this gets extreme. Pomfrey is now colic, and she's having a love affair with Professor Binns.
With Binns. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then like, how does that work? That could get saucy. Like,
ooh, it's like phone sex, except they're both there. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm like done with 2 beers, so I just have a lot of ideas happening.
I think you should write it. I would read that for sure.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Here's one. Madame Pomfrey doesn't often get Fred Weasley in her infirmary. Rather, it's his classmates who are subject to his pranks. Foul play, I'm afraid. Madame Hooch informs her privately, those yellow hawkish eyes squinting a obvious displeasure. So this looks like it's Pomfrey and Hooch.
Oh, and Madame Hooch. Oh, I thought it was going to be Madame Pomfrey and Fred, and I was like, nope.
And and then I thought it was going to be all 3 of them, and
yes.
Whew, I was going to have to get another beer, but I was going to be like, read it to us.
Yeah.
We're here now.
Yes, let's have like a little story hour.
This is how friendships are made.
Yes.
Would be the weirdest.
A dog ate my wand arm and other excuses. Madame Pomfrey is not an idiot, despite 3 generations of students who evidently think otherwise.
Okay, I need to read this.
Stories. Yeah, Madame Pomfrey has some stories for sure.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know they're there.
It's out there. Look up, see if there is any Madame Pomfrey and Professor Binns fan fiction.
God, if not, I found my niche market.
All right, that's you look into that, Emily. We will start talking about Dobby, and you can jump in. Okay, so Dobby comes to visit Harry, and he's like sponging off his forehead because he feels so terrible. And we find out that Dobby is the one who blocked the wall, so he couldn't get through platform 9 3/4 before they flew there in the car like a dumbass. And that he is also the one who sent the bludger after him because terrible things are about to happen at Hogwarts and Harry needs to be protected. And I love Dobby in this book. I think he's like a Cinderella. Like, his life at home is terrible. Everyone is awful to him, and he just kind of has to endure it. But he's fighting against all of that to do what he can for Harry. Like, he's such a brave little thing.
Do you guys ever feel like Harry is a little too rough with Dobby?
He is. I mean, like, especially in this one. Like, we know that they become closer later. But yeah, he's like, yeah, I think he's mean to him, especially knowing, you know.
Yeah, it upset me.
He finds out that it's like the Malfoys that he works for. So, like, Harry knows how terrible the Malfoys are. Why are you being so terrible to Dobby?
Yeah, and even too, like in the movies, he's very rough with him, and it upsets me, and it frustrates me.
I know, because I feel like Dobby is like, he's like a dog. Like, he has that like earnestness and loyalty and
like very simple mindset, but ultimately care. Yeah. Oh, Dobby.
I know.
I found one with Charlie Weasley.
Oh, God.
With Madame Pomfrey and Charlie
Wait,
Weasley?
what? Oh, no.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You are not the one who wrote it. Call them out. They should be sorry.
That's, oh my goodness.
I have to scroll back up and find
is this rated M for mature? What is?
No, it was Hurt and Comfort. Charlie Weasley and Madame Pomfrey commiserate about war over drinks. Yeah.
Jamie, your face, your reactions to these, I just want to gif them.
I
put the phone down. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I'm done.
I feel like that needs to be darknet stuff.
Listen, I mean, I certainly don't write it, so I'm not gonna, go after anyone who's gonna write something, but that's a lot.
I'm a huge fan of kink shaming, and I think we need to shame this kink. Oh man. That's
like there are actual tears. Like I can't believe she's usually just a side character in most of those things. Like, all the kids takes to something to her, or they end up in the infirmary.
But now she's just a side piece.
She's a woman in these stories. She's not just.
Okay.
I'm off of that. So
I wish I was drunk right now. I need like 3 more beers to get there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We end up on some fantastic fan fiction tangents here.
Yes. I know, we do love bringing it up.
So, I mean, it helps when we have a fanfic author, fanfic editor.
Yes. But so, speaking of, restricted saucy material, they do go to the restricted section in this chapter.
Fantastic segue.
Yes. To get a horrifying book with all of these potions that you can make that do horrific things. So I kind of asked a question and then answered it myself, which is like, why is a book with this many awful potions recipes in it in the school at all? Like, that seems like a dicey thing to have. But then I realized that, like, I'm sure people can't just make them. Like, they're it's in the restricted section for a reason. It's not like anyone can just go grab it. And then, like, in college, in a film class, we watched this movie called Triumph of the Will, which is a Nazi propaganda film, because because it is a good example of what it was. Like, obviously it's not an endorsement of those things, but it's like, here is, a film that was made. These are the techniques they used. These are, the elements they used to turn into a propaganda film. And like, this is what it looked like. And it swayed a bunch of people. And so like, we watched it. And so I guess some of these things in the restricted section are similar. Some of the stuff is kind of dark and sinister. And just because it's there, people do still need to learn about it, even though they don't want people actually doing it.
Well, the jelly legs jinx is not really going to help a wizard out in the world, is it?
No, but I mean, like, the book that they get out of the library here is like, there's potions that you can brew that like turn people inside out and stuff. Like, I don't know. That seems like a lot for a book.
And you have to be, like I said, I'm sorry, I haven't read these in a little bit. Do you have to be a certain year or just get permission?
Well, I guess.
Or is it for the teachers?
Well, I guess you just have to get permission, because Hermione goes up to Lockhart and has him sign it. She gives him some like, BS excuse that's like flattering to him. So he just signs it. And they do give it to Madame Pince, and she does kind of look at it suspiciously, but then she goes and gets it for them. So yeah, I would think maybe at the very least there are some books where you would need to be in like 5th year or older, or something like that to get your hands on some of these. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like the real world equivalent of things like how to build your first pipe bomb or something like that.
Totally.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of any like real world equivalent, because there definitely was not stuff like this at my high school.
No, but it's like the dark web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just maybe the professors are just like too lazy to travel, even though it would take literally half a second. And they're like, nah, we'll just keep it on campus. What's the worst that could happen?
I mean,
Voldemort.
As we have said many times, and it even came up earlier in this one, like, sometimes the decisions that are made at Hogwarts are not the best.
Yeah, like I hate how the Malfoys are always trying to shut Hogwarts down, but I do have some questions. Like, if I was a parent, I'd be like, look, I love the feasts, real fun, the decor, great, but restricted section, maybe not, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I think we have asked that before, like, would you really want to send your kid to Hogwarts? There's like, students have died there, like the teachers are abusive and unqualified, and it just like, it is what it is.
We do get to see Hermione totally breaking the rules, which is out of character. So
yes,
but I mean, I say out of character. We've only known her for one book, because we see her, gradually breaking more and more rules as the books go on. So
yes. In this one, it seems she's doing it because she is scared, because they know that, whoever is opening the Chamber of Secrets and whatever is inside is going after Muggleborns, which she obviously is. So in this case, she is willing to break the rules for that reason.
Yeah.
But while Harry is in the hospital, they bring in another person who has been petrified, and it is Colin Creevey. Poor Colin Creevey. We were talking about how sweet he was, and now he has been petrified. So, something that I did kind of almost start laughing, because it's Dumbledore and Madame Pomfrey and McGonagall, and they're like, "Oh, he had his camera. Like that's why he didn't die because he saw it through the camera and not, head-on eye contact." And they're like, "I wonder if he got a picture of the attacker." And so Dumbledore opens the back of the camera, and it's like, "Oh, it starts to sizzle and smoke," and it's like, "No, whatever it was, like fried the film." But I'm thinking, like, even if it didn't fry the film, as soon as you open the back of the camera, you're going to expose the film and it's going to ruin it. And, like, I guess they're not as familiar with cameras, so they don't know that, but they do have pictures in the Wizarding World. I guess the film works differently there. I don't know. But I thought it was funny that they're like, "Oh, let's see." And they just open the back.
Because it's like what is it? The Polaroids, like thinking that it's going to be like a Polaroid picture in the back.
I guess.
So, Zanib did say the second that Myrtle died at Hogwarts, that's when real shit started to go down at the school. Right. And we haven't talked about Myrtle at all.
No.
But I have her bookmarked. This is how she is in the illustrated version. The woman who played her in the movies was the only person who was not like age appropriate.
Right. She was like an adult woman playing a student. I mean, she does have that sort of like high, girly sort of voice. So I guess, that's why they did it. But yeah, it's kind of, and also she's another ghost. And so like, she essentially, an entire bathroom cannot be used because she's kind of taken it over. And so it also brings up again, like, how well are ghosts actually being regulated? Do they just kind of like let her chill out just because? And yeah.
Yeah, they have like one of the most powerful wizards in the world. And he like can't just, I don't know, unhaunt a bathroom.
Right. So is it that
doesn't care?
Right. Is it that they're not capable of it, or is it like in this particular instance, Dumbledore like feels bad and so just kind of lets her stay? I think they get into later the issue of ghosts and that like not a lot of people really choose to be ghosts because you don't really move on from there. You're just kind of trapped in this form forever, and that's not something that a lot of people will want to do, understandably. So yeah, I would think maybe in the case of Myrtle specifically, it's she's a kid who died at school. Like I think they would just kind of let her be there if that's where she's choosing to haunt.
Yeah.
Would you guys choose to be ghosts if you could?
No.
Would you?
I mean, I think it depends on how pissed off I was.
I guess I can see that. It depends on how I died.
Right. We know in this case that like Myrtle was bullied a lot when she was in school, and so she kind of wants to be a ghost so she can like enact some sort of revenge and like haunt people.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, if I knew there was a way to get rid of me, then like maybe I would be, just to kind of like freak out some friends or something. I don't know. I always joke I'm like very accident prone, so I always tease my fiance. Like I've called dibs on dying first, and if I did, I'm like, okay, but like you're gonna give like some time if you got remarried again, right? Like you can't like, I mean, she's like, yeah, like 3 years, which I still think is soon. I'm great, but anywho, I'm like, I would definitely haunt you. Like I would definitely like anytime you're on a date, I would just like pop up and be like, hey, hi, I'm her dead wife. How are you?
How's the date going?
No big deal. Yeah, how are things going? Let me tell you about her bad qualities. Leave now.
So Myrtle was played by Shirley Henderson.
Yes.
And she was born in 1965. So that, puts her even 10 years older than me. So that's how much of an adult she was. Like that.
Yeah. She was not like even a new adult. She was like an adult.
Yeah. Playing what, a 12 or 13-year-old ghost.
I guess. I don't remember how old.
I'm trying to do math right now, and
you're 2 vanilla porters in. That's
it's more like I'm like 26 years dyslexia in.
Well, that's not going to help.
No.
All right, and that's sort of it for this chunk of chapters.
Yeah.
That's
2 weeks.
Yeah, the next one's coming up is 11 to 15, and that's the Dueling Club, and takes us through Aragog, which is another chapter with lots of bugs. So those are not my favorite ones, but
we get the actual polyjuice potion.
Yes.
Very Secret Diary and Cornelius Fudge.
Which I think is the first time we meet Fudge, probably?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
moving right along.
We'll have some more quick spell questions for you next week. We'll figure out who our lineup is. Cassidy may join us back.
If there's another Harry Potter trivia, you could win another 30 cents. Eventually, we will make it to $1. Yes. That is our vow that we make tonight. Eventually, you will win an entire $1 off of our Harry Potter trivia knowledge.
We'll see. Zanib will hopefully be back. Lorena will be back from Portugal. Yeah, all the fun things. But thanks for sticking with us. And we didn't think we'd have much to say about these 5 chapters, but
I know. And this is one of the longer ones we've done.
Yeah.
It was probably my fault. I went on tangents. But thank you for having me.
That's what we do, though. We talk about all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
I'll go back and watch this, and I'll be like, oh my God, were we really talking about that in relation to Harry Potter?
Oh my God, this is public.
So thanks so much for joining us. And there will be, I think the next hangout that there's going to be, besides ours, there will be a Game of Thrones one coming soon. So if you're listening and want to do that, watch out for that if you're a Game of Thrones fan. So thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.